Okay, so we're going to look at the cosine rule again, but we're going to look at it if we are finding an angle. So the rule has changed a little bit. The last one was for finding a side, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a, and we've rearranged it for this formula, and this formula is when you are finding an angle. Okay, so let's see how it works. Let's suppose you have this. Now, one of the questions that I didn't sort of look at the last video, which perhaps I should have, is why wouldn't we just use the sine rule? And how can you tell when to use the sine rule and when to use the cosine rule? Well, if I tried to use the sine rule, it would be sine A over 16 equals, and I haven't got one of the other two angles, so I can't use the sine rule. So the way I always look at it is I try to use the sine rule first, and if the sine rule doesn't work, then I go to the cos rule. The cos rule always involves the three sides. So in this case, you've got three sides. When you're finding a side, you've got two sides, and the other one is the unknown. Okay, so it works very much the same way. We're going to substitute in. When you substitute in, it's not that difficult. It doesn't matter which one you make B and C again. It can be 26 squared plus 28 squared or 28 squared plus 26 squared. The important thing is here, this a squared must be the 16. If we are finding this angle, this is the minus 16 squared. So when we substitute in, we get that. 26 squared plus 28 squared minus 16 squared, all divided by 2 times 26 times 28. Now, this is quite tricky to put into the calculator. I would put brackets around all the top, divide by brackets around all the bottom. There's other ways to do it, but what you need to do is make sure you get used to the way you're doing it on the calculator. And the more practice you get with, as with anything, the better you will become, because it is quite tricky. If you try to put that in now, I'll give you a bit of a chance, and just to see what you get, remember to put the top all in brackets, because we're finding out what the top is, and then we're dividing it by the whole lot in the bottom. What you should have got is that. Now, if you didn't get that, try again. Put the top in brackets divided by the bottom in brackets to make sure you can get 0.82. So does this mean that A equals 82.69, or lots of students try to do something with this? We are finding an angle. So the one thing we need to do whenever we're finding an angle is press shift. Okay, so this is what cos A equals, 0.826923. We want to know what A is, so you have to press shift, and you get 32.2 degrees. And we would expect that. It's the small side, so it's opposite the smallest angle. Okay. So the hardest thing about using the cos rule, other than remembering the formula, is to make sure that this B and C are the 28 and 26, or the 28 and 26. This A minus A squared must be the one opposite the angle we are trying to find. And again, it doesn't matter which one's B or C. So if we look at this, and we'll only look at this one very quickly. And the reason why I looked at this one, we haven't got 3, 4, 5. We've got 3.2, 4, and 5 centimeters. So one would expect this to be a right angle triangle, almost. Okay. So let's substitute in. So here I've got 3.2 squared plus 4 squared minus 5 squared over 2 times 3.2 times 4. That little dot just means times. It's a bit tricky because you've got a decimal point there as well. Now, the way I've substituted this in, which angle am I trying to find? Am I trying to find this angle, or this angle? Because that's an important thing to understand. Which angle is it I'm trying to find? Hopefully you understand it's this angle I'm trying to find. I've got a minus 5. So this is the minus A. So this is the cos A. So cos A must be opposite the A squared. So this is the angle I'm trying to find up here. And as I said before, this is very close to a 3, 4, 5 right angle triangle. So this will be very close, we would assume, to 90 degrees. So when we type that into our calculator again, make sure you can go from this step to this step, because 3.2 squared plus 4 squared minus 5 squared divided by all of that divided by 2.2 times 3.2 times 4. And when you get that, you have to press Shift Cos because we're finding an angle again, and you get 87.22, which was what we were expecting, something close to a right angle. I was going to do a right angle, but weird things happen. This becomes 0 and cos A equals 90 degrees. But hopefully that has explained how to use the cosine rule with finding sides and finding angles. But yeah, always try the sine rule first. If it doesn't work, then I try the cosine rule. That's an important part of this sort of type of question. Which one do we use? You won't always be told. Thanks.